What's going on, everybody? FYB presents Wise Word Wednesdays, a quick live stream to help you get closer to accomplishing your dreams. I'm your host, Joe Spider, and I do represent the fresh. Listen to me. I want to start off by saying thank you to each and every person who's taking time out of their busy schedule to watch this live. Whether you are watching on Facebook Live, on YouTube Live, on X Live, or on Instagram Live, I just want to say thank you. Or whether you're listening to it, the delayed version that comes out the next day on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I just want to tell you, I appreciate you taking a moment out of your day to be here with me. If you haven't already done so, please go to the Wise Word Wednesday YouTube channel. You just type in Wise Word Wednesday, and I promise you, you will see the channel. Please hit that subscription button to the Wise Word Wednesday YouTube channel so that way you can get notified of all of our YouTube clips. We do go live every single week. And sometimes it might be a recorded session, but it's still going to be live to you. So it's all good. I am going to be looking up and down because I'm looking at two screens. I got the Instagram live comment chat. What's going on? Adon, I see you, man. Go mob. But yes, tonight, listen, we have a very, very, very good episode that I am super excited to talk to this person about. Listen, a lot of people are interested in going into media as a whole, right? And if you were on last week's show, or if you paid attention or popped in, you probably saw me interacting with a person that was in the chat. And I'm just so humbled that this person is able to take time out of their day, super busy schedule, to be able to connect with us. And so I'm hoping that they can drop some gems, which I know they will. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce to some and present to others this amazing person who has done some great work in TV. They've done great work in film. They do post-production, and they are also an amazing story producer. And not only that, look, I just celebrated Founders Day yesterday. This is my soror as well. I'm talking about somebody who is well educated and well versed with about almost a decade of experience in media. So you're going to get some gems tonight on this show that you probably won't get. So whether you're interested in going into media as being the person in front of the camera, or going into media being the person behind the camera, or just interested in media as a whole, this person that I'm going to bring up is going to be able to kind of give you some insight to what that lifestyle is like. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking you to make some noise, even though I don't have the buttons yet. Eventually I'm gonna upgrade to put the noise in there. But right now, I want you to make some noise for my soror, Miss Toni. What's going on, Queen? How are you?
I'm here, Tisha Campbell, but
It's
when
a
I looked at the
blessing.
introduction, I was like, dang, I feel like Kevin Hart, I feel like Kevin Chronicles.
Listen,
When he
listen.
came in every day hustling, listen.
Listen, I gotta make sure that I show you the love. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that it's a blessing to be able to have you on the show. I mean, we were talking, pre-show about how just crazy your work ethic has been, and how much energy you've been able to put out on a consistent basis for nearly a decade. Of course, I had to do the introduction right, man. I got to do it right. You know what I mean? And I do got to say, there's a couple of some mob in the chats there. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Ade. He said, "What's going on?" Shout out to Soror. My man Josiah from GZI said, go mob, man. I hope y'all having a good time. So, we got the blue and white showing some support as well on the IG. But Toni, if you could do us a favor and talk to me a little bit about what you do, even though I gave you the introduction, tell the people, what is it that you do working in TV and film and in post-production and just telling stories? Tell me, what does that consist of?
Woo, okay, well, where do I start? Okay, so it all really started after college. So after college, and it's crazy because I was at UC Davis for dramatic arts, double minor in African American studies and Chicana studies. But then when I finished, of course, after college, you're kind of like, what the heck am I going to do? And I applied, of course, to different places. And at the time when I applied, it was around like 20, what was it? 2014, 2015. And I wind up getting this job with Pilgrim Media Group, Pilgrim Studios, which is now Pilgrim Media Group now that it switched over with Lionsgate. And I got it through Craigslist, which was crazy because at the time you could still find entertainment jobs at that time on Craigslist before all these different, hubs and things had started created. And so when I got the job, I was actually an executive assistant first. So I would definitely say for the biggest note for anyone that wants to get into entertainment, it's not something where you can just, I'm gonna produce and jump in. Usually, most of the time, you have to do an entry level type of position, and I was able to do it on a corporate C level. And so I was executive assistant for the post production and the legal department. So I was in charge of all the attorneys, which I had 10 attorneys at the time, and the 3 reps that were in charge of like the entire post production camp. And so from there, like for the 2 years, I really got to know like one-on-one, like how TV is really pitched, developed, and then like on the legal side, the back and forth. And then once the show is filmed, comes back to the post house, we're able to kind of put it together, put the deliverables together to send it to the network or production that that we are slated for. Once I had the 2-year mark, which usually for an assistant, PA, whatever, you want to try to be in the entry level for at least 2 years because that gives you the gist, kind of like, general ed, gives you at least the taste of like all the dynamics and the groove of what you're doing. And then it kind of gives you what you're going to be interested in. And so finally at that time, I was like, okay, I can't be sitting at this desk forever. I got promoted up to be an executive assistant for the executive producer for Bring It at the time for season 4. And that's where I got really introduced into how to really build story from beginning to end. Like literally during season 4, she literally had me watch an episode. And then once I finished, I go to her office and then we start from top to bottom. And the cute side note too is that we actually built the episodes. The network actually created the show. So we created the competitions. We figured out who would be what. And once I kind of understood their flow for Bring It, which I don't know if y'all watch Bring It, but dance moms, the whole majorette, all that stuff with dancing dolls and all that in Jackson, Mississippi. And so when I finally got like the groove of her relationship, she was like, I got an opportunity for season 5. Can you be the associate producer? And I was like, great. So she was like, pack your bags. You're going to Jackson, Mississippi for a couple months. I was like, oh, got it. So I got like the full experience of being in the field as an associate producer for the Dancing Doll Moms, but at the same time being my own producer as the rival dance team producer. So all like Neva the Diva, Divas of Compton, Quincy with the Prancing Tigerettes, I was their producer. So I was not only assisting my producer, I was doing my own beat sheets, my own scenes, pitching the teams that were going up against the Dancing Dolls. So I had to do a lot of scouting, a lot of research of the teams, which I scouted a lot at that time. Again, this was like 2014, 2015. So this was early like research, YouTube. So I found a lot of the teams on youtube.com, went to a couple competitions. So when you've seen season 5 of Bring It, you've seen more versatility in the dance teams. I brought a lot of Chicago. I brought a lot of Atlanta. I brought a lot of like Florida, East Coast, everything, because the network wanted to see a little change. They were like, okay, the dolls are winning a lot. We need to shake up the room. So that's where I had to get that purpose of shaking up the room. So once I was able to do that and it wrapped, I just explored so much into all different types of storytelling. I did mostly unscripted in the beginning, but I did like dance competition shows. I did Legendary. I did My Killer Body with K. Michelle on Carlos King's Entertainment. I did syndication with the court shows, with Paternity Court with Lauren Lake. I did, I've just done a lot. And then when the pandemic hit, of course, sets were closed. So again, I had to shift. And from there, I transitioned, especially when we did Legendary, I was able to have the opportunity to go from being in the field producing to going into post-production and actually building the scenes that I was like shooting. And so I was able to really get the 360 moment of like, oh, I'm able to produce not only behind the camera, but I can do it on an Avid, or I can do it through clearing people or other things. So I found little ways to kind of elevate my storytelling and not have to be the field producer or the segment producer or the basically the roles that you see us in. So then now I've really transitioned from unscripted to documentary when I wound up doing the Murder Inc. documentary, which we'll talk about that as well. I was the archival producer. So anything that was, of course, with documentary, you have your sit down interviews and the archival material that comes with it. So all the archival material that was in there, I was in charge of it, either to clear it, find it, research it, and all that. So from there, I've now been, I guess, since 2020, 2021, I've been in the world of documentary, heavily working on legal logistics as a clearance and archival producer. I sometimes do story because it all kind of goes hand in hand, but I kind of been more on like the legal logistics and all that stuff on the back end.
Gotcha. So let's. I just want to take it back a little bit. So going back to your time from graduating from college,
Yeah,
you had to get a job as an executive assistant, and which you did that for 2 years.
2 years. Yes.
Um, and I think that's important because there's a lot of people who I don't know if it's because of social media, or I don't know if it's because of just the lack of patience that maybe people have in regards to wanting to get, or maybe they're just extremely eager to get to their best version of themselves. A lot of people think, okay, I'm going to graduate from college and then I'm going to go and I'm going to be making a gazillion dollars because I know I'm going to be the best, right? And it doesn't really work that way. There's like these ladders that you have to climb to be
Right.
able to, it's not like we don't think you're good enough, but it's really the people at the top are so well-rounded and well-versed
Right.
because they've taken these different roles in these different areas. So now they understand more of a wide range of what's needed in order to make a project work for in totality.
Mhm.
And so I think that I want people to understand that, like, you had to take those 2 years to learn from that role, and that role helped you prepare for the next role that you ended up getting, which was, well, that was the was that assistant producer,
Associate producer.
associate producer. So
Yeah.
it's like that executive position gave you like those quick tools that you needed to be able to be prepared and confident enough to know, like, okay, I'm ready for this next challenge as the associate producer on this next thing. And then, like, again, you say years later, now you find yourself where, like, no, you could do it all now because you understand the storytelling side of it, right? Not just the producing side, but it's like, I know how to be able to make sure that the audience perceives the message in a way that I think that they want it, that it's best for them to be able to digest. Does
Yeah.
that sound right?
Oh, 100%. And like, that's where, like you said, social media, I think it really cut out the educational side to
Mm,
production. Like, I feel like every position that I'm doing, like, I'm in school. Like, even the job that I'm in right now, like, I'm in this new job with Archival Ninjas, and we're basically, like I said, an archival clearance in house. And I feel like I'm in school all over again because it's like a
mm,
whole new process. Their flow is totally different. And it's just like that with every single show that I was on. Everybody had a different flow, like from doing a project for a sizzle to doing a project for HBO Max or Max. All of them had a different type of flow, even down to the executive producers. Each executive producer and the way that they produce and the way that they execute their crew is going to be different. So you can't just come in here thinking that you're going to know something because, baby, you're going to have. I remember I was on one show and it was like 8 supervising producers. So I
mm.
have like 8 different people giving me notes, giving me things that I need to know about, things that I need to like work on. So if you're thinking that you're going to come in like I know everything, you don't. You really don't. And honestly, social media had also cut out the experience as well, and especially for us, for people of color, like they already look at us with a scarlet's note on our back,
Right.
i.e. DEI. So most of us are coming in like as the check on the box. So they're already looking at us like we don't have the experience. So when I came in, I was like, I'm not going to come in as just the Black person. I'm going to come in as I'm the producer that knows her stuff. And
Yeah.
so I
You
had
can cut on here if you need to. You good.
and so I had to come in and like be and ask the questions. Like I always say, a closed mouth don't get fed. So if there's
Mhm.
any opportunity that I can get into, whether it's a high position or if it's a low position, I'm gonna take it because I know that my counterparts or my people will never get that chance. So you have
Mm.
to have that experience. You have to mold yourself and grow because also too with Hollywood, they're so easy to like go to the next person or go to the new person or go to the next thing. So when you're trying to speed up everything, it's kind of like a time clock. Yeah, you want to get there, but then it's like, what's next? Well, then what's after that? Well, then what's after that? So for me, I always never, my mentors always told me ahead of time, never pigeonhole yourself into just one thing or to just one producing style. Because I've also seen the back end too, where I was at a Producers Guild program where, they did like different panels and stuff like that. And there was a person who was like an EP for Love and Hip Hop type of franchise, or like what they call a female ensemble franchise. And he had a question because he also was saying he was struggling to find another job because Hollywood and society has already pigeonholed him in being this type of producer. And so he wasn't able to find work. And that's the other thing that I tell people too, is to always say yes to everything, because you may never know. You may go in thinking that you like doing real estate shows and then you hate it. Then it's like, okay, well, what other shows are you going to do?
Mm-hmm. That's real. Can I ask you, there was this huge strike that was going on with writers, producers, people that were within the media industry. And that's because of payment. I mean, it's for a variety of reasons, right? Like people using AI now, Chat GPT to come up with scripts and not willing to pay people a lot to compose their own scripts. And just the business as a whole just needed reshaping, right? In regards to the monetary support that people are the compensation for the work. How did you navigate working through those strikes as a person that has spent so many years and in media? Like, how did you navigate working through that time?
Stay in tunnel vision and focus on what I had going on. When the strikes were happening, I already was transitioning into documentary. And the thing about the documentary world is that, and just in general, is that I don't want to say everybody fight ain't our fight, but I was in solidarity. I went to all of this, to the strikes. I went to the different
meetings, the union meetings and stuff. And
I didn't go to the meetings. I didn't go to the meetings because
you
usually
got the
the
cliff
meetings
notes.
were
That's
like
all.
member only at some points. But I did go to some town hall. I would say, yeah, I did go to some town hall meetings. I did go out to some of the studios and supported in solidarity. But at the end of the day, we still got bills to pay. We still got rent. So I still have to think, like, I have to do another project. So at that time, like I said, I was shifting already into documentary. And documentary is a whole nother space than scripted. Like, the thing with Hollywood that most people need to understand is that we are all in different spaces. So, and you really saw that during the strike. Scripted is its own world. Unscripted is its own world. Reality TV specifically is its own beast. And documentary is its own beast. So trying to have us all, we were all in solidarity, but to say that we are all struggling, it's not the case.
Right.
Because especially when I talked to my boss, I was like, during the pandemic and even the strike, I was like, was documentaries really affected? She was like, no. As a matter of fact, we got even busier because of the fact that documentaries, we do not need to be at a studio. We do not need to be on set. Hell, when the pandemic hit, most of the shows and stuff transferred it into virtual spaces. So with documentaries, especially, like, we don't really need to stop down. We can still keep going. And actually, during the strike, it really had me tunnel vision on understanding the business of entertainment. So also at that time when the strike was happening, I was actually working on a project with Macro, which I don't know if you know Macro. I think y'all need to write the company down. Charles D. King, amazing mogul that is really changing the game for not only content for us, for the community, but how to get the capital in a different way than what you would think of old school Hollywood. You'd also, back in the day, you would think, oh, I'm just going to pitch a show. I'm going to get the project. I'm going to knock on a Netflix, knock on Paramount's door and see if they're going to get my job. That's not the case anymore. Hell, Hollywood is so backwards right now. Like, they're trying to figure out what content they can save at this moment as they're still cutting and laying off people. I just saw that Amazon is about to do a whole amount of layoffs, as well as I think Paramount did too. And I think Warner Brothers. So
that's macro. That's MACRO.
yeah, MACRO.
Okay.
So while the strike was happening, I was working on a project with them on the docu-series side with Shea Moisture. Shea Moisture had a Black Millionaire fund, and they were able to turn it into a show with Roku. And it's the next Black Millionaire. So if you want to know anything about entrepreneurship for Black community, watch the show. It's still on Roku. I think it's like 6 episodes. And so they dropped that. They cloned Tyrone, and they dropped a podcast with iHeartRadio all at the same time during the summer.
Wow.
I don't know if you watched They Clone Tyrone, but you saw that it was like out there, right?
Yeah.
And so I was kind of studying. I was like, how are they able to still get projects done in the midst of the strike? And so what I understood in the business part of entertainment is that a lot of brands, technology, as you see, AI, a lot of these different brands are now getting the money, and they're like, we want to do content. Because of course, with social media, a lot of people are getting into that content creator drive type of content. Mm-hmm. And so now you see TikTok having shows. You seeing now, who else is having some shows? I mean, Apple TV Plus has already been there, but who else has some projects? Oh, on the sports side with LeBron James at Spring Hill. They've done some stuff. And like Kinley, I think, did a commercial. I did a commercial with them last year. It's like so many different outside of media companies are now like, we got the money for y'all to do content. And what's happening is that, of course, you know, during the strike, some people had their agreements. Like I think A24 had that type of agreement where they were still able to do content and stuff with, unless they had like a permission from SAG or, you know, WGA. And I think Macro did the same thing. So it's just understanding the shift in the business of entertainment and where we can get the money to do the content. So while Hollywood was down, people were still doing stuff.
Making
moves. And what I love so much about Charles D. King is that he understands that, because he was an entertainment lawyer first. Then he was a talent manager, and then he, you know, decided to do his own company. And what I started to see is that, some of these media and technology companies are making content. They need producers. They need clearance people. They need directors. So I shifted thankfully I shifted and had such a complex, versatile type of resume to where I can shift. And then also to the networking. One of my mentors is with Macro. So I was able to, you know, stay in touch with her, always stay connected. And then she got me that opportunity. Now I have that under my belt. Now I can do stuff for little companies, independent clientele, and bigger productions as well. So I was still moving and shaking.
Yeah. So when you are navigating through this space, what, in your opinion, has been the biggest like challenge that you face within media?
Okay, I'll say two things. The biggest issue that I would probably say with media is, I think the biggest number one is the gatekeeping. Especially that I'm now on a level where I want to give the information. I did have a problem where I would want to be like, I want to be a panelist. I want to give my information. And if I wasn't an Issa, if I wasn't Shonda Rhimes, if I wasn't them, they was not talking to me. They was like, you don't know this information. I remember one time somebody hit back. They was like, you are too young. You don't even know the information.
Wow.
I was like,
what? They tried to play you.
Hence why I created Queens of Production, because I'm not waiting until I'm 50 years old on a walker to tell my knowledge. So right. I'm going to do it with my own platform and my own collective and give the olive branch while I'm still growing and developing as an EP showrunner myself. I'm going to just do it now. I'm not going to wait. And then I think on the gatekeeping on the other side, where it comes into, you want to give the information to people, but like you said, they want to be spoon-fed and not actually do the due diligence on understanding not only themselves as a storyteller, but understanding the business of the game. They still think it's still old school Hollywood. We just won't wait until somebody gives us the opportunity, or I'm going to pick you up, pour this information to you, and then you're just going to be a showrunner. like Cinderella. That don't work because if I'm not there and you don't know your stuff, you're gonna look bad. And I've seen that happen before plenty of times. And those are the people that don't last long. I think the strike really showed who was in it for the long run, like who knew the game longevity and who was just in it for the lights.
So when you face these gatekeepers of Hollywood, how do you kind of like Eurostep or like go about that, or is it just the only way to get into Hollywood is through these gatekeepers? Do you feel, obviously there are more avenues now because of social media, because of technology, because of people becoming famous on their own platforms, right? And then it's a little bit, I'm not gonna say easier, because if there's a lot of anything then it's hard,
Yeah.
but it's different than what it was maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago, where like you literally had to know somebody, and somebody had to really like love you and be friends with you to get you in. How have you, with the gatekeeping now, is there any other ways to get through to that, or is it like, nah, you just got to know the right people and that's it?
Yeah. Okay. I will say that unfortunately we have backpedaled a little bit only because of the strike, because of the fact that a lot of people left the industry. So we don't even know who's still around. Um, and also too, I think people don't know where to find the research. Um, in the sense of like, there's so many different like storytelling. Like I said, there's scripted, unscripted, syndication, sizzles, short film, full length, documentaries like I do, and so many other different comedy. Like there's so many different ways of storytelling that sometimes when people try to go in, they talk to the wrong person. Like for instance, I used to get hit up all the time, especially when I said that eventually like I was honed in on being a producer. There was so many people like, oh my God, I got a show. Can you pitch to somebody? And I'm like, I'm not that type of producer. I am a like eventually when I started getting in post-production, I had to tell them like, I am a post-production producer. I'm
Yeah,
not a producer in development. So I
right.
cannot get you your stuff anywhere. I can help you to clear it, maybe, if you have budget, but
Yeah.
I cannot get you to Netflix. And even then, I can't get myself to Netflix because it's
Mm,
just its own like, there's so many loops and jumps and all that stuff. It is always still going to, unfortunately, be that gatekeepy type of vibe because it's
mhm,
just Hollywood. It's old. Like they're still in these old ways. The only thing new in changing it is people like myself, people that are actually like, okay, we're just going to bring our people in and we're just going to bring them into the door and you just going to hate it or love it.
mm,
The good thing is that the fact that they know point blank period, anything that's black is going to bring magic. It's going to bring money. It's going to bring the coin.
Can you
So
say it again for the people in the back?
anything that is black is going to give the coin, give the magic, give them everything that they need because our culture is it's what's popping. Point
Yeah,
blank period.
it's essentially like what drives the industry, right? Like
Exactly.
our culture in a lot of ways. And it's unfortunate because even though our culture is what drives the industry, sometimes you don't always see the monetary value being put back into the people that create that culture, the people that
Mm-hmm.
are actually the developers of that culture, or of that driving force. But again, one thing we know is that when you turn on media, our cultures are represented, maybe not all the time in the best of ways, but they're definitely represented a lot, and throughout media. And so yeah, definitely I can see that. But I do want to switch gears here a little bit. I was a few, I don't know if this was maybe a few months ago, you had some time with the little Bow Wow. Well, he's not Lil no more, he's Bow Wow now. But yeah,
Yeah.
you was with Bow Weezy. Talk to me, how'd that happen? What'd you do to make that happen? You got a chance. Not only was you with Bow Weezy, because I'm sure you've like worked with other famous people over the years, but
Yeah.
you actually got a chance to spit his bars to him on some like karaoke stuff. So tell me about, how did that come about?
Well, of course, I always go. Well, in the midst of like me working, I always the little downtime that I have in between, I'm networking. So, I stay like in the Hollywood area, so there's just like one studio called Goya Studios that always has like Black events all the time. Like they have Essence Hollywood House, which I highly, highly, highly recommend people going to. I think they always have it in March. Essence Hollywood House is like, if you are a creative, if you're in the industry, those people will be at that event, and it's free. You just have to RSVP and just make sure you're up to keep with Essence and make sure you see the pop-up and you RSVP and make sure you get in there. But that time it was the BET Awards weekend, and I was able to get RSVP. Actually, I was able to get in because I knew somebody inside. They were part of the BET like live crew. I think she was like a talent producer or something like that. And I was like, girl, I'm coming. Mm-hmm. So I texted her, she got me in. And then everything was cool, it was great. They had what was it called? The Rap City karaoke part. And then I literally was just going for good times. And my boyfriend, he was like, you should go up there and, do a little something. I was thinking of a whole nother song, okay? I went up there and the girl who was in charge of the program, she was like, do a Bow Wow song. I was like, I guess, okay. And so then I was like, what song am I going to do? And she was like, do this one. So I wound up, first of all, I had to look up the lyrics, okay? Because, I don't know all the verses. I just know the chorus, okay? Right. So did it, and I wound up doing it. I didn't even know he was going to be on stage, like, at all. And when I saw him, I was like, okay, but we're just going to go with it.
We here now. We done committed.
I was committed, child. And that's just me in general. Like, I feel like I always wind up getting myself into some random, like, adventures. It's crazy. But he's not the only, like, celebrity that I dealt with. I think I'll probably say the most fun experience celebrity that I met, okay, it was twice. I met Nipsey Hussle when we did the BET's Next Big Thing before he passed away. That was pretty cool because then I got to see Tank too. He was so nice. And then when I did The Hype, seasons 1 and 2, which is Offset's streetwear competition show. So Offset was the executive producer, so he was heavily wholehearted in it. And so we got to meet a lot of people in streetwear design and all that. And I got to meet Dapper Dan. So I have a picture with Dapper Dan, which was super, super cool. And even with working with celebrities, it's like, I'm born and raised here in LA, so I don't have like that whole starstruck, but when I do, kind of keep it cute.
No doubt. Keeping it classy. I understand that for sure. I've met, different celebrities just throughout life and just in passing, not to say like I'm like somebody big, but I've met a couple of them, and I'm the same way. I don't really get starstruck. I'm usually like a person like, oh, what's good? Like I remember I was in Vegas during the summer, I think, and I saw Colin Kaepernick. I was like, "What's up, Cap?" He was like, "What's up?" You know what I mean? Just kind of, I don't know. I just don't. I always feel like they're human beings. Like don't get me wrong. Like we admire the work that they do, the things that they do. They're great, super talented. But like I've never been want to be like losing my shit because I saw a celebrity. Now there might be a couple people who might be able to get me a little excited like if I saw it, but for the most part I'm always like, oh shoot, what's going on? All right, keep it pushing, and I'm out. You know what I mean? Or like maybe flick it up if it's an appropriate time. But that's dope. I'm glad to know that you had a good time, and you're just able to connect with people with some genuine spirits and get the insight of what their life is like, or how they're being able to utilize their one gift to pour out into many things. But you talked about you now working in the documentary space, and I'm a fan of documentaries, docuseries, and things like that. I love that stuff, but I don't think a lot of people understand that documentaries are essentially research. It's you explaining research from a particular perspective. Could you talk about maybe how your education might have contributed to the way that you approach, or does it at all contribute to the way that you even approach how you work in the documentary space?
It did not. I literally learned documentary on the fly.
Through experience.
Literally through experience. And that's why I tell people, like, the degree does not matter when it comes to entertainment. Because it's kind of like with any job. It's like, once you get in there, they're going to teach you anyway. So it's just like a matter of like having the gift of gab. And actually, I'll take it back. When I got my job with Pilgrim Media Group, they didn't even look at my dramatic arts major degree. They were like, oh, you were a DJ for a radio station? I was like, yeah, I did this while I was also, doing school. And they were more focused on how I got the job, which is usually in entertainment, is if you know how to be multitask, you know how to organize on Google Sheets and grids and stuff, you know how to talk to people, you can get entertainment. So when I got into documentary, the additional thing is that I had heavily legal logistics experience. And so I know how to clear stuff. When I tell people in my log line all the time, I'm like, I'm the queen of story and I'm gonna get your stuff cleared. Gets me a job every time, never fails. And so, like I said, when I first got introduced to documentary, I first did the Murder Inc. documentary, which actually was a blessing in disguise. Shout out to Michael Payton, who is my homeboy.
Hey, shout out Michael Payton. We appreciate you.
Right, listen, he actually was the one that created the documentary on YouTube. And I told him in college, while we were in college, I told him, I was like, I'm going to help you one day. I don't know how, but I'm going to help you one day. I didn't know I was going to be an archival producer. I thought I was just going to, maybe help him with some clips or something. I didn't know that this was a title. Fast forward to then, he hit me up, gave me the opportunity. And so I'm going to use this as an example just so that how, you see documentaries, how they work. With documentaries in this new day and age, it's just a simple format. Sit down interviews, intercutting with archival footage, intermixing in with B-roll. Usually it's from like third-party stock footage, like the Shutterstock, Getty, Pond 5, like all those things. Intermixing in
foreign language right there when you start mentioning all the B-rolls. I know what a B-roll is, but the stock footage, that's where you lost me there. I was with you when you was like, yeah, B-roll. I'm like, yeah, I know what a B-roll is. And you started mentioning, breaking it down.
So think of when you see like those aerial shots of the city, city shots of the people. That's what we consider like B-roll. And that's just in general, like all shows, they use B-roll. But for documentary specifically, we'll use, if it's not shot by the camera crew, we usually get it from a third-party stock footage camp, which has really been helping a lot. And also, I would say if anybody shoots a director camera, if you shoot anything, use those third stock footage, like put your footage up there because you can get paid. Because some of the clips that they have, like that we license, can go from least minimum $25 and go highest $150 per clip. So if you are
you can really make some money. I use for my Wise Work Wednesdays, I use a lot of B-roll and I use a Video Leap. And so they make a lot of money on Video Leap because they have these various B-rolls that you can use throughout your stuff. So yeah, you ain't lying. You can make a lot of money through that for sure. They be charging like $10 per B-roll.
Exactly. And so, in the documentary space, specifically for Murder Inc., I was like, ooh, I'm about to be on a music joyride. So I write my notes. I'm a notebook person, type of person. I'm still old school. I write down notes. So when I got the chance to get the breakdown of the Murder Inc., of course, we're talking about the life of Irv Gotti and the rise and fall of Murder Inc. Records, right? But we're talking specifically, again, the life of Irv Gotti. So we're going to go, of course, if you've seen the show, the first episode goes into how he was a DJ, and we had to go into old school hip hop. So I had to find like the old school hip hop, which was so hard because they barely have anything because damn near everybody didn't use the clips before on Getty on their other stuff. 50th year anniversary of hip hop. But I remember just literally sitting there and I wrote down whoever was a part of Murder Inc. Records, how long they was there, all their albums, each year it was. Then when we had to break down into what was really fun about that project was when I really got to understand that trilogy of Ja Rule, Jay-Z, and DMX. Oh, it was so much fun. And what the cool thing about the documentary is, since we were with BET, we had access to their database, which is the Viacom database.
Oh, I know Viacom had a bunch of stuff. Oh, they had, you said the archive?
Like, all the shows that you watched back then, and you get the raw, uncut, like BTS footage.
Wow.
So literally on the Murder Inc. documentary, every archival piece that you've seen on there, I pulled and found and sourced and figured it out. And it was cool. Like, I learned so much about Jay-Z and his like connection with Irv and how Irv found DMX, and we were able to find like raw footage of Irv at work at Def Jam when he found DMX knocking on Leroy's door, talking about this is it, this is the moment. I found those moments, to even like some of the 50 Cent beef, like, and how that started, and like was able to pull that stuff, to even when we talked about the when Irv and his brother got arrested, and we found some of the stuff and pulled, like, it was just so much fun. I felt like I was back in like my younger days watching BET's 106 in Park, which I was able to find when Ja
AJ and
Rule
Free.
retired. Yeah, I was able to pull the material that when they retired his song on 106 in Park, those moments, and like seeing all that and being like, I was there and grew up with those moments, to all those like back then when they did those concerts with Rough Riders, and like when Ja Rule did, you know, Can I Get a What? Like I saw like B-roll when Ja Rule found, well, not found, but when Ja Rule got the message to do the Rush Hour soundtrack. And I saw like on his, because they did it for his like diary video, I think. And it was just so good to be able to like say, I pulled that. I did that. Like, even though the Murder Inc. and the results of it was crazy with Ashanti and all that stuff,
Yeah.
being able to say like I was able to be a part of that movement and it be full circle for me, because the fact that I said that I was going to work with Michael, I didn't know how, in what shape or form, but I was like, I'm going to help you with this. And to actually say I did it with him in a position and he paid me for it was nothing but a blessing.
I think what is really dope as well is, you know, something that what you started off with is, you said, well, I mean, first off, all of this is dope. Let me just say that first off, the fact that you're able to, you know, because now I'm reliving my childhood. I'm like, oh, we go clap back, we go, you know what I'm saying?
Listen.
But I think what was dope is that you were like, you know, your degree wasn't even the focal point of people, of when you were you know, interviewing for this particular role. They were looking at the extra things that you were doing, such as being a DJ. Because I think this is really important for people who are young and aspiring to do anything, what, not even just in media, but just in life. It's
Yeah.
important to expand your knowledge. It's important to get out there and do a lot of different things that you might like. Not just that, not that you just absolutely love, but that you might like, because you never know which one is going to stick
Yeah.
later on in the career path that ends up being like what you were destined to do, like your purpose. Like, because I know, like, the type of person you are, Tony, you're not going to spend a decade in an industry if you're like, I don't feel purpose driven. Like, you're not going to do it. You're going to be like, this ain't my kind of, especially not in Hollywood, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're going to be a type of person to be like, nah, I'm cool. Y'all do your thing, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's just, it's really just, um, I'm hoping that it's encouraging these other people who might be watching, whether you're listening right now or whether you might be listening 5 or 10 years from now if you're watching this. Because I know when Toni, you know, eventually decides to get in front of the camera, you know what I'm saying, her stuff gonna go viral and it's gonna be big, and they're gonna look back and be like, I'm be like, yeah, she was on the Wise Word Wednesday show. You feel me? But but I think it's important that they look and pay attention, because it's like, it wasn't the thing, the stereotypical thing that got you your job. It was the
Yeah.
things that you were doing outside of that education. Yes, it's great to have the degree, and it's great that you had skill sets that may or may not have translated to media, right? But at the end of the day, you were able to take advantage of the DJing during your college time that gave you experience to be able to say, when you apply for that job, like, oh yeah, I have experience in this too, and they took that. So I think that's really, really, really dope. What do you think are some of your are some of the coolest parts about your job? I mean, obviously, you just talked about doing things like the Murder Inc., you know, going back and looking at B-rolls of, you know, just footage, raw footage of your people who were like legitimately like rock stars during our childhood. You know, what else do you think are some of the coolest parts about working in the entertainment industry? In specifically Hollywood, in not even just Hollywood, because you've worked with just everybody. So what do you, just in entertainment as a whole?
I would say the cool part of working in entertainment is that I get to say I work with cool people, and also I get to meet people too as well. And especially for me being in a position where it's often not seen, it's really cool to like, I think the biggest moment that I probably say was last year, and the show that I did with Macro, I was able to get 2 credits for one show.
Mm.
And when I posted it, I saw a lot of people being like, damn, like you got 2 credits on one show? Like, and to say that I work for companies like Macro and like knowing some people in the game, like I it there's even people that there's even some people that I know, because I'm the type of person, I'm in LA, like I don't really tell people like who I know because I
Right.
kind of keep them sacred to me. But the people that I know that really support me and rock for me, like I I wouldn't have been able to meet them if I got into the entertainment industry. And I want to say like the biggest like one thing is like being able to say like I did this show. Like to say that I did Legendary is like still kind of a shock to me because it's like one of the biggest probably competitive like ballroom type shows. And I think when I went to the Beyonce's Renaissance, random, random. I went to Beyonce's Renaissance and
She killed
Carla
that, by the way. I went there too. I had front row seats. I was not playing. I was like,
production, 100%.
she went crazy. And
And
I watched the show too, the movie that she came out with. And I had
uh-huh,
a whole different level of respect for her. I mean, I seen the Netflix the Beach Chiller, but when I saw that one, when I saw this one with the Renaissance, I said, okay, I have a whole different level of respect for the the genius behind the work that we see. Okay, my bad. Go ahead.
yeah. And so while I was watching Renaissance, of course, Carlos was a part of it, which Carlos was on season 1. And then Honey Balenciaga I was segment producer for her house. And to see her come from, I remember on Legendary, backstage, damn near crying with her, like, and or like the moments we had to seeing her dance with Beyonce, I cried, bawled. And I remember the people next to me was like, "Are you okay? Like, you all right?" And I was just like, I'm just so proud. And I literally called up Shannon Balenciaga on the phone, like, "Yo, like, what?" And she was just like, "Toni, like, just think 2020, you was just with us. And now here comes 2020, what, 3? And Beyonce is doing ballroom. Like, the coolest part of it is that you're a part of the needle of the culture that's moving. And at least that's the content that I do. I don't do nothing that's gonna make like I don't do no crime shows. I don't do nothing that's gonna interrupt my spirit. Um, and so being able to be like, wow, like I produce, like, because at the end of the day, producers are advocates for the talent that you make stars. So when you see them
Mm,
become the star that they are, it's like I did my job.
yeah.
I did what I need to do. And that's even when I did Bring It, because I still talk to my teams from Bring It, and they've flourished and become great and are now dancing for now, Chris Browns and the Missy Elliott's and all those things. And being able to just say, like, I was a part of your story, I was a part of your journey. That's worthwhile. I don't care about no Emmy. I don't care about no Oscar. I don't care about none of the things. It'll come. It's gonna come. But at the end of the day, am I making my talent appreciate who they are? Like I said, as a star, as a brand, that's what's important to me. Are they being executed correctly in front of these white people? Because the white people, which are the head ups, will morph the talent into how they want them to be. And it's scary sometimes because most of the talent that comes in, they either think 2 things. They don't know nothing about TV, or they assume they know TV and they make this whole narrative up of what they want to be. And for you as a producer, you kind of got to shift them and be like, this is what they want. This is what they can do. This is what you should do. So that's where you become like, honestly, I'm a teacher. And
Mm.
sometimes it's like it's a gift and a curse, because sometimes you got to take in that energy sometimes, and sometimes you'll have talent that walks off and gets upset and doesn't answer your phone calls and all that. But after result, when that show premieres and that show air dates, that's when it's like, okay, I think
Job
I've
well
done my
done.
due. Job well
No
done.
doubt. No doubt. When you when you look back, as you said, you've almost been in this industry for almost a decade now. When you look back, how how challenging has it been for you to just be on the grind consistently, because you know when you're working hard for a dream or a vision or a passion, sometimes you look up and you're like, oh yeah, it's been 2 years, and you look up again and you're like, oh, it's been 5 years, and you look up again and you're like, oh, it's been 7 years, right? Like life keeps going, even though you're like, but I just need to finish this grind real quick. And it's just like, and there's another grind and there's another grind. Like, how hard is it? How challenging has it been for you? Because a lot of people, and I know this about you, you don't post a lot in regards to what you do, all that you do. You don't. That's just, and I think a lot of, I've noticed that a lot of people who are really in handling business don't really post a lot about all that they're doing because they're so busy doing it, right? Like,
Yeah.
and but the social media will make you believe that because people are always posting what they're doing, that they're actually progressing. And in
Mhm.
reality, they're not progressing as much. So how challenging has it been for you as the world continues to give a perception of hard work while you're actually doing hard work? Like, how
Mhm.
challenging has that been for you?
Oh, okay. I would say honestly, like being on the grind, and like you said, like that whole like you'll be on the grind and you look up, you're like, oh snap, it's like 2, 3 years. I kind of have it related back to Ryan Coogler's interview, in the regards to being a workaholic. I am a workaholic, and most of my friends, people know, like if I'm on a show or if I'm doing something, I'm MIA. Like I'm not talking to nobody. I ain't going out. I actually gave up hard liquor to focus. I've given up a lot of stuff to focus,
Right.
and it has been a challenge because sometimes, like it gets into that world of like, damn, I still got to connect with my friends. I still got to connect back to my life.
Hmm.
And so now I feel like this year I'm like getting back into it now that I've kind of like lifted up. Because then also too, with producing before being remote, like I would have to travel out. Like I remember there was some shows like I would be out for months gone. I probably would only be here in California for Christmas. And then
Mm.
maybe the next day after Christmas, I gotta fly back out. So once 2020 hit and I was able to sit down and figure out everything, I kind of told myself, I was like, I need to control my hours. I can't let like set in Hollywood control my, like be in control of my hours anymore.
Yeah.
And so now that I've been able to control my hours, it's now the sense of, oh snap, I got personal projects that's now controlling my hours. So it's just
Mhm.
doing the due diligence to step away and reset, regroup, self-care, check in with your people, check in with your tribe, which I need to do better. I need to do better. This
Mm.
year I'm gonna do better. But I would even say for even life hard challenges, while I was in the entertainment, literally when I started working in entertainment, I lost my mom 2015.
Mm.
Going into 2020, then I lost my grandfather, who was like my father to me in 2020. So having grief and still having to work was even a challenge as well. And so I've been able to kind of like, I don't know, have like an aha moment in the sense of like, okay, how much is enough? Like, when am I gonna get to the point where it's just like you don't want to burn out? Because that's the
Yeah.
biggest fear that most people in entertainment is like you don't want to burn out. Because once you burn out, that light ain't gonna come back.
Yeah. It's
It's gonna
done.
be hard to come back. And I have not got to that point because I still love what I do. But there was moments where, like, of course, with Hollywood, you deal with the, and there's stuff too, like also with Hollywood that I don't like to share with other people too. Like I've dealt with the racism,
Hmm.
the misogyny, the micromanaging. There was one show in particular that there was a person that did me so bad. We had to report it to the higher ups, had the meeting, and the person literally said flat out, this is a waste of my time. She's a waste of my time, and left the meeting. That's
Wow.
the stuff that I go through that most people
Wow.
don't talk about. So, how do you deal with that, and especially when you have friends and family that don't understand what you do until they see the credits? So it's just like that balance. So that's where I have to have certain set of groups. Like I have a tribe that's specifically for my creative. I've now joined a support group where I now can have a space where I can tell how I feel and be in the support of like grief and all those little things. And I have little support to, get me away and have a good time. So you just have to be able to just like, for me, being able to like have those reset moments to just check back and be like, who are you as a person away from producing? That's
Mm,
what helps me kind of remind myself too. And then also too, like my legacy, like what do I want to leave behind? Do I
right.
want to leave behind just a product or I want to leave behind like memories? If you don't have enough memories that overlap that, then you got to go back and get you some memories. Go to your friends,
Mm.
go to the park, go outside and get you some memories because that's what's going to be cherishable.
You know, I definitely agree with you. I throughout, life, when you're young, you're like, man, I used to always be like, I'll sleep when I die. Like I'm good. Like I'm a grinder. I'm a type of I even in college, like I was probably only getting like maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep like a night because I was like always on the grind. And even so I developed those habits so that after college, like I was just doing what I was doing in school, but now I'm just doing it, outside of education.
Yeah.
But as I get older, it's like, yeah, you have to have that balance of rest and of time with loved ones because as we get older, we start to lose more people, right? Like the
Mhm.
the people that were older, they're no longer here. We had the pandemic that wiped away a lot of people, and so
Yeah.
I think it just started to hit me differently. Like, yo, okay, when I look back, yeah, it's cool to it's dope to be able to be on the grind. It's dope to be able to because the greater sacrifice, the greater the reward, right? Like it's
Mhm.
dope to have those things, but like, do I really want to say like, when I'm looking back 10 years from now, do I really want to say all I did was work? Like, do I really want to say that all I did was put my head down and it's just like there has to be a balance. You have to be able to say like, no, I look back and I don't feel like I lost X amount of years, but instead I feel like I was able to communicate with those that were with me, that were around me. I was able to, touch base with my loved ones, like things
Mhm.
like Christmas and like I enjoy that time with family now. I enjoy being able to go out. I know you gave up drinking, but I ain't gave up drinking, so I like going out, get my little drink with the homies. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
but I cherish those moments more because of the amount of people that I personally have lost over the past few years, and so I think that balance is necessary. And again, when you're young, you're like, I'm just going, I just want to be successful, that's it. But when you're older,
Mhm.
I was watching a video where there's a psychologist. I don't know if he may not be everybody's cup of tea, but Jordan Peterson, he talked about how he said, when you're older, you know that you're like a great parent when your kids want to come back and hang out with you.
Yeah.
Like they want to be able to spend time with you. And again, whether you like Jordan Peterson or not, whether you agree with his whatever stance or anything, I think that's a good saying, right? Because like, you know, a lot of times people were like, I want to be great. I want to be great, but don't be so great that you forget about the people that are in your life that actually mean something,
Mhm.
that's super important. And
And
so,
if you do become great, like bring them with you, like open the door
yes,
where they can be able to celebrate with you. And then, that comes into the play where, some people only come around when, you up there, but the
right.
ones that were like, literally, I could say like, especially these couple projects that I got dropping very, very soon.
Yeah.
I know in my head who was there with me when I was thinking of the idea and nobody was talking. Or
Right.
when I was thinking of something, they were like, oh, just like, I think there was a saying of like, you want to have people around you that says, like, are not just yes men. You want people around, like, at those times when they were like, oh, just try it out. Just try. Like,
Hmm.
because those are the ones that really supported you when it was like, you really didn't want to, like, you wanted to give up and they were that olive branch to be like, keep going. Like, I have one person in particular that I will always be like, man, like this one particular project that I have cooking. I remember she's my old roommate in Atlanta. I remember we was sitting there on the couch and I thought of this idea and she wiped the whiteboard and was like, let do it. Let write it out.
Mm.
And I took a picture of her holding it. And I cannot wait until it like completes because I will post that to be like, you was there for me when I was like thinking this thing was this small, but you pushed it to make it be so big. And
Mm.
those are the people that you want to have around. And God will make sure those people will be around, and the ones that are not, God will shoo them away.
Yeah, yep. Oh, he'll definitely find a way. God will find a
Mm-hmm.
way to make it happen. No
And
doubt.
also, too, if you do step away, if you do go, MIA, and when you do come back, the ones that really, really are rocking with you will open you with open arms and be like, I get it, girl. Congratulations. Give me a hug.
Talk. See, and I think, man, I agree wholeheartedly, right? Because when you have people that really genuinely rock with you, they understand the vision that you have. They're okay with you saying, "Hey, listen, my bad. I had to get on this grind to do that." Because
Yep.
I got a homie who we were roommates in college, and like in college, like he was my best friend, you know what I mean? And I call him my brother now,
Mhm.
because you know how black people do. We family. We friends for a certain amount of time. After that, we family. You know what I mean? But he after college he ended up moving to Florida. Got married. I was his best man at his wedding. But we probably only talk like once every couple months. But when we do, it's for hours.
Yep.
Hours. Like we'd be like, hey, bro, all right, I got it. And he 3 hours ahead of me. So you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I could keep talking for another 3 hours. He like, hey, bro, it's midnight. Like I gotta go to sleep. Like, you feel me? So but again, every time we talk, it's always genuine love. And I understand his grind of being a husband, of being a father, of being working full time. And he understands my grind, even though I don't have the wife or the children. He still understands like what I'm trying to do, working full time, get having a master's degree. You know what I'm saying? Do all these different things that come with it. So the people that are meant to be in your life won't use the fact that you wasn't with them all the time as like a meaning to degrade the friendship or to downgrade the friendship. Instead, they're like, listen, I love you regardless. That's how you know they love you for you and not for what you can do for them. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
and unfortunately, like I've been hearing a lot, especially since I'm here in Hollywood. Like I always hear a lot of people that are not from here come here. They always say that, like, I can't make no friendships or relationships or can't build nothing because they want me for something.
Mm,
And unfortunately, I've been in those cases where that's happened. Like, and for me, that's why I am very, very, very close knit, tight on who I rock with, because I've had instances where people tried to use my name or utilize it for their benefit. I mean, it didn't benefit them at the end of the day, but
mm,
you just got, it's like with Erica Badu, like we are creators and we are sensitive about our stuff. And when
right.
we get used and all that stuff hurts. So, the people that really do rock with you, they will know, like, girl, go do your thing, go do whatever you need to do. But when you come back, we got I was the
Yeah.
wine bottle,
Right,
and we
right.
will
There you
pop it
go.
in celebratory. Like literally, like I'm a goal board person, so I literally have a goal board, and me and my boyfriend just did new goal boards for 2024, and just seeing all the things, I've noticed that our goal board was different from last year. Last year was more planning, strategy,
Mm,
all those things. Now this year is all celebratory. Like I see a lot of things, like we're going on trips. I'm hanging, like I wrote on there, like on my goal board, check back in with friends, go on a girls' night, like all the things is more of the celebratory. So
yeah.
also I would say too, for people that, have a hard time reaching back out and stuff, just plan it out, write it out, manifest it out. When you write those things, at least for me, it's helped. It comes to fruition. It comes to existence. When you write it, at least for me, I'm always about manifestation. If I write it, it's gonna happen. If I say it,
Hmm.
it's gonna happen because I'm God's child, and God's child, He's gonna make sure that I have every blessing that has before me, since I've done my due diligence. But yeah,
Talk.
just make sure that your goals are not just, like you said, so workaholic focused. Have that balance. And if you have to have it on a goal board, do that. If you have to, put aside and text somebody, do it. I even say it sometimes too, like I'll probably, every once in a while just probably text somebody and be like, hey, I'm thinking about you. How you been? And that's my like way of like, because I don't like talking on the phone as much.
Hmm.
I think I've kind of, as I gotten older, I'm like, I don't like talking on the phone. Just text me, girl. But just having those ways and navigations, like you said, the world, you don't know when you're how long you're going to be here in this world. So just utilize the time that you have. And even if it is like you can't physically be there, make sure that your work is something where you can give back to your community, give back to your friends, and give back to the people that you had to step away from for a little bit.
I agree. I mean, you dropping a lot of gems, man, and I'm hoping that the people are keeping up with them. As we get ready to wrap up, if there was I mean, you've been dropping gems throughout the whole episode, but if there was a wise word or saying or phrase or just a nugget of wisdom that you could drop for people to 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 know, to understand, because we've been doing Wise Word Wednesdays since 2017, every single week. So we on year 7 of every single week dropping out some wise words for the people. And so the point of it is really to give people an opportunity to learn. And there's a phrase that I always go by. It's a wise person learns from the mistakes of others, a fool learns from his own. And so
Mm-hmm.
if we're able to drop different wisdom for people, sometimes it may be for you, sometimes it might not. It might be for your friend instead of for you. But if I'm able to drop wisdom constantly, they don't have to make the same mistakes that I made, or they don't have to make the same mistakes that my friends have made or that I've watched people make. So what are some wise words that you would leave the audience about anything in life? Doesn't have to be media related, doesn't have to be, but it can be if you want it to be. But what's important that you think you should leave the people with?
I would say shout out to my profile, Julie, from Capside Zeta. This was
Hey,
the
man.
one mantra when I became a Zeta. She gave me this, and I honestly would say has been my nugget for literally for the rest of my life. And it's mind over matter. Mind
Mm,
over matter, because at the end of the day, it's going to get done. So I always keep that mantra in me because I always think in my head all the time, and that's always with us as creatives too. We overthink all the time, and we overachieve and all those things. But when I think of mind over matter, it gives me that chance to kind of slow down and be like, okay, what's really important, and what can go over there for a little bit. And when I like, and I even told like a couple people, I think even told a couple of my like mentees, and like I tell people, mind over matter. Because if you let the matter control your mind, we know about mental health, and you know how much it affects our community specifically. So if you're a creative, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're all the things, just know, slow your mind down, because the work that you're doing, that goal, it's already going to happen. It's already been planned. It's already been manifested. It's already done. Take the time to slow down and enjoy the process. That's what I think I've really learned, is just enjoying living in the moment, living in now, living in and trusting that process. That's what I would take away from little words of wisdom for today.
wow. I'm not gonna lie, you've been dropping some gems this whole episode. Like
Call me Cat Williams.
you killing it. You are killing it. And honestly, it's really just a blessing to be able to have you on this episode.
Oh, thank you.
I know how busy your schedule is, so I just want you to know I don't take it for granted. And I want you to just continue to be great. You know what I mean? Continue to walk in your excellence, continue to be your best version of yourself. I'm super proud of the stuff that you've been able to do already in life, like in not even just professionally, but just personally, what you're able to do and the impact that you have. And I'm just like super excited for the next 10 years. Like I'm excited to see like what the next 10 years look like. And I again, I know that you are like a grinder, and so your schedule is super busy, but I'm just blessed that you took the opportunity to be able to to sit down and have this conversation with me, because yeah, you killed it, and I love it. I thank you for it. And also this you feel free to come back. You are welcome anytime.
Oh,
We
I mean,
can
I
have
do
a
have to come back
conversation.
soon because, like I said, I got a couple
Oh
things I want
yeah,
to
yeah,
drop. I
yeah. Well, when
definitely
you
want to be
drop
able
it,
to put on your platform.
no doubt. When you drop it, let me know. We could do a promo for it and everything. I'm excited for it to see, how things go. So you are just continue to be amazing, continue to do
So,
amazing work. Like I just the fact I don't know again, I don't know if everybody realizes it or sees it or at this moment, but sometimes like you some people won't even recognize it until it's like, okay, it's time, like
yeah.
until you actually physically are living in the moment where it's like, did y'all witness what just happened? Like, I don't think Shannon Sharp knew when he was with Cat Williams that it was gonna go the way it did. Like that thing got over 40 million views already. You know what I'm saying? And it's only
Yep.
been out. So I'm just the fact that I get to be in the space and be able to sit with you and to have this conversation is just a blessing. And I know that one day we're gonna look back at this video and be like, wow, can you believe like where she
Right.
was and how she's been able to elevate, you know what I'm saying, tenfold. It's just I'm excited for it. So keep being great. I appreciate each person that was watching on the live. Like I said, whether you're watching on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, Instagram Live, I appreciate y'all. The comments were great. Thank you so much for joining in. FYB presents Wise Word Wednesdays. I'm here with Toni, Queens of Production. Y'all, I'm gonna leave y'all with a We Fresh, and I love you. Let me go ahead and end this. Peace.